Now, I'd like to consider the nature of evolutionary change versus revolutionary change. Because after all, our change management system is designed to deal with change of all types. So what's the difference and how do you know, and what are the different challenges based on the nature of the change? On the left-hand side, I want you to consider the green line to be a performance cost trade-off that says, as I spend more money on the horizontal axis, I'm buying more and more capability, which improves my probability of decisive victory. And that there is, at some point, too little money spent gets me down in this area of unacceptable risk. Like I can't cut the force to 2 divisions because that's an unacceptable risk, clearly. And at the other end, I certainly can't afford 50 divisions. That's an unacceptable cost. I can't buy that much force. So somewhere in between that region of unacceptable risk and unacceptable cost lies a set of feasible solutions. And there are different cost and performance parameters all along that line. And the debate in the interested community really is centered on where do we draw the line for the consensus requirement? How do we collectively as an organization decide how much it is that we need? And what is it that we base that decision on? How much of it is driven by analysis? A lot of it. If you think of the Total Army Analysis, that's a 24/7, 2-year process designed to examine every possible range of threat scenarios, all the multivariable analysis, and figuring out what is the best and most affordable force to satisfy the full range of threats. But there are other things that go into that decision. Things like service cultures and politics and economics and diplomacy. There are an awful lot of things besides objective analysis that go. There's an awful lot of art. And at the end of the day, it's probably more gut checks and politics that drive this decision rather than analysis. And so what I've arrayed here is something like a bell curve of consensus opinion, and that what emerges as a result of all of those different decision systems coming together is some agreement on where we're going to resource. And that's ultimately a political decision because Congress's job is to do that. And that will always be a political decision, informed by analysis and professional opinion, but it's a political decision at the bottom. Now, if you zoom in and take a look at that decision area where we've drawn the line, that's not a static performance curve. In fact, there are things happening all the time in an evolutionary sense that change those performance parameters. For example, if we were to find something like an unexpected price in the barrel of oil, that would drive up the costs of maintaining the fleet at a certain level of readiness and training. And so instead of that green line would move to the right as it costs more and more money to achieve the same level of readiness and effectiveness compared to our original forecast, which was the green line. Or we may have discovered in some program a better way to do business, and we have a technological fix that saves us money and adds capability, and so that green line moves to the left, where we start getting more capability for the same dollar. Theoretically, that's where our competitive advantage in the technological areas reside, that we can make things better, faster, cheaper, and improve our capabilities. So this green line is actually a dynamic line. It's changing all the time. That's the nature of the evolutionary change. But sometimes revolutionary changes occur. And it can occur in a couple different ways. In the first case you see down here, we could have a revolution in the enemy's threat capability. What you saw on the first chart was there was some distance between where we decided to resource our force and the region of unacceptable risk. And that distance between those 2 points can be thought of as our insurance premium. That's our insurance policy. When the enemy experiences a revolutionary change in his threat capability, now all of a sudden that line gets drawn differently. And now suddenly we're a lot closer to the edge than we thought. So revolutionary change in the threat's capability changes the dynamics of where that green line is and where the consensus requirement is going to end up changing. We can also see on the positive side a technology revolution. Let's think about the internet and the possibility for networked organizations across multiple levels, flattening the organization, a common operating picture that enables the warriors to multiply their capability through information. That's the promise of the internet. That's the promise of the future combat system, the warrior network. And that changes the dynamics of the cost and performance trade-off curve. So revolutionary change is such that the entire green line changes. And you go through a lot of volatility as people try to figure out, what is this change? Revolutionary or evolutionary? How much does the green line change? And the philosophical debates become of great importance, particularly when they are informing a decision that's trying to get the main programs right for the next 30 years. Which leads me to wonder about the wisdom of committing to a 30-year solution that provides the enemy a 30-year opportunity to pick a shot. So let's say for a moment that you think that the most important component of the future combat system is the network that ties together the system of systems, which gives us the enduring advantage across multiple scenarios and multiple threat presentations. And it's that common operating picture that gives us our tactical advantage. It comes with a certain technological cost and certain technological risk. If we're going to commit to that solution for 30 years, we think that's where our competitive advantage comes from, and we trade off armor for information, then the enemy has a 30-year window in which, if he can disrupt that crucial component of future combat system, he can disrupt our warfighting concept for the next 30 years. Which leads me to wonder about the wisdom of a change management system that tries to get an answer that's suitable for the next 30 years. If you believe in the power of Moore's law that says computing power doubles every 18 months or less, what is the probability that the forecasts we're making today are going to be valid for 30 years out? Why does my answer have to be good enough to last 30 years? Can't I rely on our ability to sense, adapt, and respond to a changing environment faster than the enemy? And if you believe that, then what you should do is invest in sensors that allow you to detect changes in the environment, threat capability, and invest in rapid manufacturing capability that allows you to adapt and improvise as you detect a specific threat. The current system is designed to try to anticipate all threats and design over the next 30 years, and then design a system that will respond to all of those. So think about those two lines of inquiry. I want to shift gears just a little bit and start